Hey guys, what's going on? This video is going to be comparing the XM-18 3.5 inch to the ZT-0560 second collaboration that Hinderer has done with ZT. Both of these are very good knives. I was going to do a video comparing the XM-18 to both the collaborations, but I thought it would run too long. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like it when videos go too long. I know some people like watching long videos, but a lot of the times if I'm looking up a subject and the first thing that pops up is some 20-minute video, I'm just like, no, I don't have 20 minutes to devote to this. I just kind of wanted to, I don't like it to be like 2 minutes, but I want it to be substantial, but I don't want to sit there forever. Anyways, let's get on with it. So, and just like the last one, I'm not really comparing material so much. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, this steel has this property and this steel has this property. Most of you guys know, if you're my subscriber, I'm not a huge steel junkie. Of course, I always like to just, for whatever reason, have the latest and greatest, but I'm not super big into comparing steels and performance and things like that. So first off, let's take a look at length. Let's do blade length. See what we're working with here. You can see that the 0560 is a little bit longer. It's about quarter inch longer. So actually not that much longer. But if you look at the handles, you've got a little bit over ½ an inch of extra length in that handle. So this is a very, very large handle. So a lot of that sticks out of the back there. Got a good chunk hanging out right there. Now if we look at cutting edge, you can see that the 0560 obviously has a lot more cutting edge, and the reason for that is the lack of the choil. And I've mentioned this before in my Hinderer review. I would like to not see the choil on the flipper model because it serves no purpose. It's not really a functional choil. You can see the meat of my finger is actually hitting that corner. So I wouldn't feel safe using it like this. And as far as it being a safety choil, it's unnecessary because you have this flipper. I'm sure he just did that to keep the design consistent, as well as, he's probably got a template for a Spanto blade, and all he does is just remove this flipper or put the flipper on. But I think that's one where this actually excels because you've got much more cutting space without having, an extremely longer blade. One thing, well, I'll talk about that here in a minute. If you look, let's take a look at thickness. You can see that they're quite similar. Actually, the XM is a little bit thicker, not by a ton. But one thing that's interesting is the way this feels in your hand. It doesn't feel thin, whereas this one kind of does feel thin. And my thinking is that this is actually radiused, kind of like the concealed carry Strider design, how it's thicker here in the middle than on the corners there. Whereas the XM is flat across. It's flat across, it's beveled on the edges here, so it's not uncomfortable, but it's not actually radiused. And so I think this registers in your hand these thinner parts here at the end and just makes the whole thing feel kind of a little bit thinner. I actually definitely prefer the feeling of the XM to this one. And another thing about the ergos, the same thing applies to the 0550 that applies to this guy. Because this is thicker down here at the end, it does create a hot spot right here because more of that thickness here kind of drives that into your hand. It's not bad. It's not like it's painful, but you definitely feel it. And you'd probably really only feel it if you are doing this, if you're switching back and forth between the two. But the ergos on the freaking Hinderer design is just outstanding. I mean, I'd say the only thing that approaches it is some of Emerson's designs, particularly the CQ-C8 or the Horseman. And it's quite similar to that design. It's just, very simple kind of banana shape. Come down here. Come down here. Yeah, just nothing can really compare. Let's take a look at TI thickness. I mean, really the overall thickness kind of gives you a clue, but you're looking at about the same. Yeah, it's really quite about the same, but of course the radius thing still applies. So here it's thinner, but right here in the middle it's about the same. And the G10 side, it's roughly the same concept. A little bit thicker G10 here, not by a ton, a little bit. Liners are about the same. Of course, this is bead blasted, and this is stonewashed. This blade is stonewashed, but it's a very light stonewashing. Like, unless I kind of really zoom in here, it's kind of going to look bead blasted. It's not. It's stonewashed, but it's very finely stonewashed. Whereas this is a very robust stonewashing. And I think really there's very few knives that compare in terms of aesthetics to the stonewashing on Hinderer's knives. It's just outstanding. It's by far my favorite stonewashing featured on any blade. This features a bearing system. This does not. This just has Teflon washers. As far as smoothness goes, even though this has a bearing system, the XM is actually smoother. And the reason for that, and I did this in another video, although not by a ton, but it is a little bit smoother. You can feel, just kind of feel the drag. This one is just ever so slightly a little smoother. And the main reason for that is just this has quite a bit of lockbar tension, which provides drag on the blade. If you pull this over without cutting yourself, like I always do, you can lessen that drag. Well, it's kind of hard to do with this flipper because it wants to hit your hand, but you can kind of lessen that drag and just feel the bearings by themselves, and it's really, really smooth. There's very little drag on there at all. This has a tip up, tip down, left hand carry feature, which this does not. Both of these actually have the same style oblong lanyard hole, whereas the 0550 has just a standard circular lanyard hole. Pocket clip, this is definitely much deeper. I mean, it's got the deep carry pocket clip. If I had to choose, I would go with this. I mean, really, Rick has just a standout design here, and you really can't argue too much against it. But this is also a very, very formidable knife. Alright guys, just wanted to do a little comparison between these two, just for fun, in case somebody was curious. I know some people like these comparison videos, some people don't. You know, I'll put it in the title, this compared to this. If you don't want to see it, don't watch it. If you do, cool. Alright guys, take it easy.